Matt, welcome to the Democratizing SEO podcast. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Austin. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Thank you so much for your time. Today, we're going to talk about navigating pain points when you're SEOing client side. And I think you'll have an interesting take on this topic. So thank you so much for your time. Now, Matt, as I like to do with all my SEO guests, I like to ask how they ventured into being an SEO professional. So with that said, how did you land in this crazy, unique, but wonderful industry?
Yeah, so my sort of SEO origin story is I was in the Marines and I was going to leave, so I was just looking for ways of what jobs I was going to do when I was leaving. Essentially, I sort of got reading online and discovered that people were making money online, so I sort of like fell down that trap, as probably we all have at some point in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And also reading Neil Patel articles, things of that nature, and then slowly evolved from there. I won't go into too much detail because it was a long journey to get here.
Do you have a favorite area of SEO?
Yeah, like technical and strategy. Really, like my key sort of components. I would say.
Do you think your
definitely?
would you say your background has lends to you being someone who's very keen on strategy?
Not really. No,
No?
that's just more of, I think it's just more of a personality quirk. Yeah,
Okay.
rather than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
just like some people, they think a few steps ahead and stuff like that, and like plan stuff out and things. I think I'm just more inclined to that. If I was to do like a personality test or a strengths finder, it would probably always kind of like resonate towards that area. And yeah, it's just what I like.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, you've worked agency side for quite a while, but you also ventured into client side. I am curious, before you went client side, what were your perceptions of client side SEO and what it would be like?
Okay, so the number one myth that I kind of like fell down, or the trap that I fell into even, was the whole it's really hard to get stuff implemented agency side, and then when you go client side, it's not difficult, which is just simply not the case, really. Of course, it's horses for courses, but that was my whole perception. That's why agency experience is quite useful as well. But it turns out that implementing stuff client side is just as difficult as getting it done agency side as well. So, when you're agency side, you think, oh, that's spending this much on an agency. It's a bit weird that you get so much pushback about doing certain things. It doesn't change client side. It's still the same old story. So it's something to always be prepared for, and learned a lot from those experiences.
Yeah, pain points. Implementation is a huge area in terms of pain points. I would say implementation, operational work, business leadership, and also education are areas that I find are very challenging for SEO, for an SEO who's client side. Let's start with implementation. Why would you say that is such a difficult thing, even for SEOs who are client side, or perhaps especially for SEOs who are client side?
So I don't think it is actually difficult per se. My my key learning or takeaway is that ultimately, it really just comes down to alignment of objectives, KPIs, and goals. And if you were to think back about all the agency stuff you've done, probably where the clients are implementing things and you're getting results. Essentially, it will come down to because you're aligned on the goals and the objectives, and then everything seems to happen seamlessly. So to answer the question, yeah, it doesn't have to be difficult if those things are in place. Obviously, like if they can be in place, but then you might just have a bad idea or a bad plan. But we can look back at things like site speed, things like that. Okay, you're going to have a whole team of not a whole team of developers. You're going to have the developers are going to be generally quite aligned on those goals, and then if you get like site speed, and then go, okay, you've got your KPIs here where you're using real user monitoring to essentially like see how fast the site is. Why don't we get the KPIs of Core Web Vitals, and then we can work on the project together and go through some of the requirements, and then have those as the KPIs or the measurements of success at the end of a project. And in theory, that should work seamlessly rather than go into a bunch of developers that literally don't care about site speed at the moment because they've got bigger things to care about, and going, oh, we're failing because the font's moving on the site or something like that. And then insisting they do it, it's just not going to work. And yeah, it just doesn't work like that. So I don't know. I've basically lost my train of thought here. I'm just all about aligning on goals and objectives. That's what I care about the most now. I just don't think it works. Otherwise, I'm just going to throw it out there.
It's funny you say that, because I think more or less I have the same sentiment, and I've realized with businesses they have this, if you like, this grand vision, right, of SEO. So they, at some point within their SEO journey, they realize, okay, SEO is something we need an SEO person, let's hire an SEO person. But the reality sets in, and the reality is you have an entire business that's been functioning without an SEO in place, right? And having an SEO person in place essentially means pretty much everything. And I say everything because pretty much every department or team or individual has the ability to impact the SEO channel, SEO performance. So everything that the business currently or used to do now has to make way or shift or change in some sort of way to incorporate SEO into their ways of working. Now, for the business, this is something that they wouldn't realize until the reality sets in. For the SEO, this is something that they'll have to reckon with. And the phrase "me against the world" comes to mind. What is it like, or how does it feel for an SEO who's at a business and is essentially almost battling or going against several teams, departments that have an existing relationship within the business?
I just don't think it has to be a battle. Like when I look back into my client side experiment, should we call it? When I was hired, I actually, like, they had the stuff in place to invest in SEO. Like, let's just say, like, they had people to produce content. But you work agency side, you have a big 3-month contract, a 3-month notice period to fulfill. Like, things change in some businesses by then. Mm-hmm. So but I think there is what you're saying about organizations that don't understand SEO that much, is like the amount of dependencies required. Like, let's say if you're doing B2B SEO, you need to produce content, don't you? That's like
Essential.
that, especially if it's some, yeah. I mean, it might be like a B2B play where it's self-serve and quite almost like it's like a decentralized programmatic sort of site. Let's say something like Zapier, where you've got lots of page templates. But no, if it's not self-serve and it's sales assisted, you need content. That's just like the dependency that's required. So if you don't have that, to answer your first question, how it feels is like, yeah, it's just it's just a no-go, isn't it? And then of course these organizations, they have people to produce content, but again, if they're looking at their OKRs and KPIs, to harp on about the point, like they don't care about your content ideas if they're getting measured quarterly on something else over here, and you can't shoehorn organic traffic into that, because you know what ranks, the type of stuff that ranks, and unfortunately, self-promotional pieces about new feature releases, yeah, it's just not gonna. There's a channel for that, but it's not SEO, I'm afraid. No. Same with other things. But someone recently, Brendan Huffer, did sort of make a very good point about how to get through these if you do have buy-in from like a B2B angle, and that's essentially make sure that you're helping like sales produce content, sales support, and probably something else. I don't know, but effectively, if you can produce content that's probably potentially going to rank, that helps sales and it helps customer support, then the worst case scenario out of that is that you're going to help sales and you're going to help customer support, which that I believe that is the play. It's called this like 3S framework. So anyone who's listening, go look that one up. Fantastic. But it also comes down to, you still got to have people to write that stuff, because you're not going to write it if you're an SEO, and not necessarily. Do you know what I mean? So you can't magic it out of nowhere at the same time. You can't just pull out your sleeve at the same time. So people still have to prioritize doing that over doing something else.
Yeah.
So therein lies the issue of resource. So you both need to have the resource and priorities need to be aligned at the same time.
See, this is what I mean.
But if you've got neither, then
this is what I mean by the reality of SEO, because it touches so many areas of a business, and SEO is reliant on all these different areas. It just becomes an uphill struggle just to do SEO alone, and it in my opinion, it's quite easy SEO, but it becomes fundamentally difficult when the culture in a business hasn't factored in SEO, and it usually takes some sort of event or a crisis, and that, from an SEO point of view, translates to rankings or business or revenue going down, either via an algorithm update or some sort of event that lands and the business is in trouble from an SEO point of view. How important is it for education around SEO to be spread outside of the SEO department or person? Especially, I have this phrase that I like to say, it takes more than SEOs to make SEO a success. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, sure. You're preaching to the choir, really. Yeah. So SEO, it's I wouldn't say it's easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. But it's like
Right.
it's like the it's like the expression, it takes a village to raise a child. It's basically, yeah, it's a cross-functional, it takes cross-functional teams to make it work. So it's very much like you're a product manager. That's where I see the whole job role of in-house SEO, especially more on the technical side of things, like bigger sites. I see that as like a product manager role, and I think that people are just going to see it like that in the very near future. So yeah, it's pretty much education and about the requirements and what the benefits are really, is definitely like anything else. Like you need to get the buy-in. Sometimes you can't even get the buy-in with just hard numbers,
Right.
Sometimes people, that doesn't even work. So yeah, circling back, like when you were saying, it's hard because people have this misconception about SEO. Like I'd say every in-house opportunity, you need to qualify that, making sure that they know what's required in terms of budget, resource, because you're going to have, come interview 3 or whatever of your in-house job application, normally you go through like a bit of a strategy / plan. So you've got a rough idea of the plays you're going to make as soon as you go in there. Like, for example, let's say it's B2B SEO. It's like, okay, we're going to do branded landing pages versus competitor pages, a pricing page, things like that are like super quick wins. But if even those are difficult to get over the line, then you're in trouble. But yeah, you just gotta make sure you know that resource is there and available.
How does one thrive in team dynamics, right? When they are the sole SEO at a business that has several departments that have been running since the inception of the business?
How do you thrive? In my case, you don't thrive. but no, like the beauty of the in-house role as well, from what I've seen, the opportunities there is that, look, I think sooner or later you want to look at other marketing channels and the whole organization's objectives as a whole. Obviously, you own the channel of organic search, but you want to be invested in the whole customer journey at the same time. So there are definitely like green shoots of stuff to help lone SEOs thrive, but that's another qualification question you maybe want to consider as well. It's like, well, if you're the only SEO there and you want to like remain as like a channel expert and as an SEO, then is that the right organization if they've only got one SEO? Because chances are it's not that big a channel for them.
Right.
Because so you got clues there, because in an organization's marketing channel mix, like they know what's working already. So if you're the first SEO there or the replacing someone else, then chances are that's like a minor channel. I don't want to like call out any brands, but the ones, the mega brands that you're not going on to shopping online and going, oh, Tesco's just ranked for a tin of beans or something like that, baked bean multi-pack. It's just not like, it's not going to be a good channel for them. So like, I wouldn't imagine, there's going to be some nice projects for SEOs to get involved in, but no one's going to be like, oh, the SEO of the landing page for bread, because people are just going, oh, Tesco, they shop there every week, and they go online and they're like, oh, it's just not a big channel. So yeah, basically you need to have a good awareness of the marketing mix of where you're heading to as well, and that is aligned perfectly with priorities.
Why do you think some businesses invest in SEO when they're clearly not yet set up to invest in SEO? I ask this because I once contracted at a business who had all these brilliant ideas, right, with marketing and SEO being quote unquote a core marketing channel, but they have a lot of development issues, which they clearly needed to have their dev department resourced for, right? So there was literally no time left for SEO. And it was clear that it was very apparent that the business wasn't at that point in time ready to take on an SEO person, or have an SEO have SEO as an active channel. But there was this thinking that SEO is something that we need, so we must have it now, right? And the reality didn't live up to the dream, unfortunately. So why do you think businesses invest in SEO at the, let's not say wrong, let's say inappropriate time?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to the certain narratives that are spread across the internet, like SEO's free traffic, or just like just confusing and wrong information out there that's proliferated via publishers that should know a lot better. I was having a meltdown because someone shared something in a community the other day of a publisher that had like a list of ranking factors, and they were, I think they were all pretty much just correlating factors. None of them were actually ranking factors, and it was just so erroneous that I think that's the issue. Like, people just go, oh yeah, we've got to have SEO in place, but it also works both ways as well. I think that probably a lot of SEOs sell a lot of duff work that's not needed as well, which makes the sort of like adds to the situation. So
SEO
I think
for the sake of SEO.
That's the whole problem. Yeah. Indeed. So yeah, I'd say that's, the main problem is just the whole expectations are just way out of line for what is possible, and also there's plenty of people out there who are willing to go with those expectations and just roll with it and take some money and run off into the sunset. Never come back again, because there's so many people to splurge money on SEO. I've made the mistake before when I was a freelancer. Like, it wasn't a mistake, but I didn't qualify the work well enough. But like a few months in, I just said, it's not the channel for you. I just go on a bunch of podcasts, basically, and. Yeah, that would have been the play, like the demand generation play is way better than SEO. But hopefully, like, more people learn this early and don't do it again. But I think there's loads of agencies and stuff out there that charge people a arm and a leg for just not like nonsense.
Right.
And there's loads of nonsense information out there that people read and go, oh, that sounds good, free traffic. It's much better than PPC. Or, people, I've had it before as well, like people high up in organization saying, "Oh, we're ranking. What can you do about us ranking for this query here? Because these three competitors are ranking above us. Is there anything you can do, like in the next couple of weeks or something like that, to rank above? Like I've got some magic wand in my pocket that I can just wave and start ranking pages that don't match the main intent of a query." Yeah, it's just general misinformation. But I suppose that's the whole point of the whole democratizing SEO thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, all
The
of this,
the movement.
all of this for me, because I have client side as well as agency side experience. I understand both sides very, very well. And I'm someone who always says it's business over SEO, always. And that essentially means don't do SEO just for the sake of doing SEO or because you feel that's something that you need to do. Let's say if you're a business leader at this point within your career, or have in place at this point within the business, it's always has to be business over SEO. And one of the things I'm finding is that education is a huge, huge area, and it's something that I'm looking at from an operational point of view and also a business point of view, business leadership, I should say, because operationally, actually, let's start from a business leadership. There is this thinking that, once you hire SEO, you have SEO in place. There's almost like a mentality that, okay, I've invested in SEO. Now I need to operate with an investor mindset, as opposed to actually I need to now manage SEO to success. And that thinking right there, when they switch it, and usually that switch comes after an event, algorithm update that impacts SEO, right? And then it's a case of, okay, we now need to manage SEO better than just simply investing in it and aiming for an ROI in a year or two. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
And another area is operationally. You have a business investing in SEO, but operationally, people haven't bought into SEO, right? They have their other departments, let's say dev departments, they have their priorities, and SEO isn't one of them. For SEO to now come into place and oversee what they were working on, possibly what they were looking forward to working on, it just instantly creates a them versus us mentality. And culturally, that is detrimental for the business, for the team or department working with SEO, and for the SEO as well, because it's very frustrating. You know what needs to be done. You just haven't got the resources to do it. And it's just like, you're sitting there thinking, just give me 5 days in the month, just 5 days. And this specific person, let me work with this person for 5 days during the month, and I can get you results. And once I go over that hurdle, just one time, it'll be a lot easier. But that first time, it's a mountain to climb, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that comes with experience, though, because when you first start working agency side, do your first audits and stuff, you're like, making out that some 302 redirects to the login portal are super important, and that the devs should basically refactor that part of the website based upon some 302 redirects, when it actually it won't have any impact whatsoever on anything. And that's probably how developers get rubbed up the wrong way, because if someone's coming to you with a whole list of priorities and like some of them are just not important clearly, then I wouldn't listen to people either. It's like if you work in SEO, it's like if someone came over to you and told you to do your job differently, or like redo a piece of work based upon some nonsense because it's in some article Because that's essentially what it's in. It's in a like some article, or it's
Yeah.
some. It's almost like it's SEO bro science.
Right.
That's probably the best way of categorizing all this misinformation. It's like SEO bro science, or just general nonsense
Yeah.
about things, or just not thinking through priorities correctly. And yeah, that's why people don't like SEOs, I imagine. Like, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a big factor. Like, SEOs are a bit annoying, aren't they? I would imagine.
Yeah. Just a bit. Just a little bit. I think we need to get a
Yeah,
lot
if
better.
you've been on Twitter,
Right.
get on
Yeah.
Twitter, you'll see how annoying they are.
Yeah. Totally. I think we need to get a lot better at managing people and managing, or should I say, leading people. Not just necessarily managing, but leading people as well. I think our communication style needs to be appropriated in a massively big way. Because I say a lot that, different departments, SEO needs to work with different departments. Different departments also need to work with SEO. It's not just a one-way thing. It's a cultural thing. That word right there, cultural thing, it's stuck in my mind it's been on my mind for several weeks now, because I think I'm still pondering on this, but I think that right there is the key to resolving a lot of issues that SEOs face with pain points, especially when it comes to implementation and having resources for implementation. Because everything, the way I'm seeing it, comes down to the company's or the business's culture. Everything else is downstream from that. And if you can solve that cultural issue or issues, everything else becomes a lot better. Ways of working, resourcing, all of these things, they're all downstream from cultural issues or cultural business culture. What's your take on
Yeah,
that?
I'd say if you segment, I think it's more basic than that. I think it's just what are people's goals and what are they aligned on, to keep on banging on about it. Like, big enterprises, they work on things like OKRs, other such goals that help them hit their targets, which then give them a bonus. Yeah, it's just a case of someone came up to me and said, I'm going to help you get your bonus. Here's what you need to do to hit your targets. I'd be like, yeah, all right, that sounds good. Let's do it. So the problem is, if here's the problem, but actually the cultural thing, I would agree upon this, because if their targets just are a bit, not very good, or they haven't factored in organic search when it's an obvious opportunity, then yeah, that's a cultural issue. I don't think you can get over that one. But using the site speed example, or I suppose we can't use the site speed example because they weren't thinking of core web vitals, but using another marketing function example, let's just say someone in charge of acquisition, okay? If you have a bunch of SEO requirements, because they are essentially, at the end of the day, they're just SEO requirements, they're going to help them achieve X, achieve their goals, and then make them look good, make them get promoted, make them get a bonus, and you can back it up with numbers, then yeah, it makes it works. It works agency side, but yeah, it doesn't work if the culture's not there in terms of like the bigger objectives haven't filtered down to them correctly. Then that could be a cultural issue that, yeah, it won't work. Because I can give you a very good example of this. Working with a specific client whose bonuses were based upon the score of a tool that's used to measure accessibility for the website.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like, you can't. I mean, it does cross over with SEO a little bit. So you could that would be something that you could sort of like help them along a little bit with some bits, but essentially, like, they're rowing in the wrong direction if they think that's going to move the needle from like a acquisition or revenue point of view.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not gonna cut it. So yeah, sometimes teams are misaligned, and yeah, to bang on it again, like, that's the problem there, misalignment. Sometimes teams just have bad objectives.
Let's say a business leader is thinking of a CEO, let's say, is thinking of hiring an SEO for their business. They've never worked with SEO before, but they see it's bringing in a lot of traffic. It's the third best traffic driver next to direct and social. They figure, okay, if we invest in SEO, we can have more traffic, which means more revenue. And they come to you and say, Matt, what are the things we should avoid when hiring in SEO?
Avoid. Don't know. You've got me. You've got me here.
Shall I tell you what's coming to my mind?
I'm just going to be real controversial.
Go for it.
I'll just say, like, are we talking agencies as well as hiring, or
they're hiring an SEO in-house?
All right. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be hard. It depends. That's my SEO answer.
Let's
gonna
go
have
with
to use my it depends card.
They're hiring an SEO agency side then.
Oh yeah, like someone who's just cheap and hasn't got a particularly good track record, maybe does like multiple channels, doesn't actually specialize in SEO per se, and they're like a cheap agency. I'd be like, that's a massive red flag. I'm not saying that should be, an absolute no-go, but if I was a betting man, I would say that that's going to end in tears for sure. So,
one thing that I've always pondered, having worked agency side, is why there isn't a lot more focus on educating non-SEOs who are client side. Why do you think this is? Especially from, let's say, C-suite level, or only C-suite level, right? Why isn't there more emphasis on that?
All right. I believe that senior leadership teams and C-suite level people, they don't care about SEO, to be honest. They just want to hit targets. So I think I'm trying to like think back of things when it's just been really difficult to kind of like get stuff moving along. Sounds bad as well, but I think like there's a few agencies out there that use quite fairly junior people. So I don't think they actually like think about the whole aligning of objectives and goals that much. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm just talking from my point of view. I've been guilty of it myself. Like I said, it's only just it's something that I was kind of had an idea about, but it's never been something that I'm stern on like I am now. It's like it must happen. Like there is no point otherwise. and we all might as well just pack up and go home instead of pretending. But also, you got to think about the agency model as well. And for some agencies, it's like, are they that invested in education and like or are they invested in selling lots of work to clients so they stay with them for years and years, well, not years and years, but until they get found out. Because there's some shady operators, as we've spoken about just before. There's shady people out there. So I think some people, they think that if they educate the clients, then they're just going to hire someone in house and that'll be it. Possibly.
That's the whole agency model around the use of SEO. If I weren't focused on client-side business, client-side SEOs and businesses, essentially client-side, there's so much I have to say around the agency model on wielding with the way they wield SEO, because that in itself is an entire business and an entire, I would say, 5 years worth of podcast I can delve into, because I think that is fundamentally wrong at its core.
The way they do what? Sorry?
The way they use SEO. SEO as an industry, and the way they use, should we say, junior SEOs, particularly, because their entire business model around SEO, that to me just needs to check. Oh, anyway, that's a whole different podcast. There's a lot.
There is a market for it. There is a market for it. I think as long as everyone's being transparent about it. But yeah, I get what you mean, because it's like, let's just say some agency that works across loads of channels. They wheel out their most charismatic person to do the pitch, and they like literally never touch the account, and they just use some cookie cutter process with the junior execs doing it. There is a market for that, though. Some agencies have big clients that just need reporting done, like just monotonous, tedious reporting of a template that doesn't involve any kind of insight or anything like that. It's just, but that could effectively be done by like a series of APIs a lot faster. But no one in the agency is going to bring that up and go, "Wow, hold on a sec." What if they do? If they did use APIs, they keep to themselves, wouldn't they? And just say like, "Oh yeah, it takes an exec 2 days to do."
For an SEO, right, who's solely at a business client side, do you advise or recommend or suggest they focus more on strategic, high levels working alongside business leaders, or do they need to focus more on operational work and essentially get operational results as quickly as possible to prove the channel does indeed work?
So the whole idea here that what I've heard Kevin Indig refer to as strategic bets. So you need to make a series of strategic bets, and then some of them are going to be quick wins, because for that very reason of you want to be able to move the needle quickly. So what I was mentioning before about like a B2B company, I know like for a fact that what is going to move the needle, if on your website, if people are searching for you versus X competitor, then having that landing page there is going to help a lot. It's going to rank really fast. Traffic's going to be solid. It's going to convert on some level. Same with a pricing page. That's going to move the needle super quick again. So it's like picking up some branded traffic, easy wins. And then, yeah, you shouldn't, in theory, I say this, be able to leverage that to get a bit more buy-in. However, if there's no one to do these pages and everyone's arguing about what they look like, and it takes like 6 to 8 months, and you don't have any analytics to measure it anyway, then like it's not going to be a quick win. So maybe it's not always that straightforward, but theoretically, there always should be some quick wins hanging around. I think updating content as well. We all know that works. But yeah, if you've got no one to update it, that's not going to work either. Which brings me to another point. If you're talking about like SEO poison chalices, so the worst thing you can do if you're talking about operational or executing or strategic stuff is in some verticals, people can actually do thought leadership content and it can rank quite well just off the back without really having like that much input from SEO. Like a site that has a good ranking, a decent level of ranking content, but then if they don't have anyone to update that content, like that's the worst thing, because if you go join there, like content decay is like a real thing. Like you're literally like you can't win in that case. You're just gonna look like you're performing badly based upon that, because they've literally hit the peak already in terms of organic rankings. So you're joining, it's like buying stocks when they're at the peak of the top of the market, But yeah, I think too much strategy though takes too long. There's some things that you don't need to be strategic about. It's like brand traffic says do this, so do that. There you go, get some conversions. Boom. Which is something you're into, isn't it? Brand SERPs and things.
Oh yeah. Going into the new year, I'm I'd say 99% going to focus on branded traffic. Because that to me, there's an entire series of talks I'm going to do around this, but that to me is the key for SEO in the future, and I'm betting my entire career on it. I believe in it that much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, there you are. That was strange.
Yeah.
It just sort of like froze and then I had to refresh.
Yeah.
No worries. We can wrap up here, Matt. I have one question which I thought of as I was refreshing. If a CEO knew this about SEO, they could, let's say, wield it a lot better to generate more revenue. What would this be, in your opinion?
Oh God.
There isn't a right or wrong answer to it. It's just based on what you think, based off of your experience and expertise to date.
They wield. What's like the?
So use SEO
talking
better.
Like silver. Use SEO better. Align on objectives. 100%. I die on that hill now. That's like, that's it. Like if that's not in the marketing plan and that's not in the OKRs, forget about it. Go home. Don't bother. Move on. Right. Simple as that. Yeah.
That's a good one and a good place to end, Matt. Where is the best place for people to find you online?
LinkedIn. Hit me up.